Okay, today we are going to be replacing the keyway on a sprocket on one of the carts. This here is the rear sprocket and the axle, of course, and this is a keyway. Now the keyway, you see that it is square and it is wider this way than that way, so you got to make sure you get the right one. They are in the blue cabinet at the back of the track. So make sure you get the right one because they do come in different sizes, so it needs to be the right size for this. Now, these new sprockets that we've been using do not clamp the axle as hard as some of the older ones, so this may be a problem that we're going to run into, so it is something that everybody that works here needs to know how to fix. So you'll see that there is a slot in the axle and there's a slot in the sprocket. And what happened with this cart was in the middle of a race it just stopped running or stopped driving, and that's because this keyway, this thing that I just showed you, fell out. So you can see that this sprocket can spin, or the axle can spin without moving the sprocket. Okay, so that thing needs to be in there. Now these sprockets have two slots. They have a narrow one, which is there, you can see the narrow one, and they have a wider one. The wider one is the one that we want to use. Okay, so you line up the notch in the sprocket with the notch in the axle, and this keyway key will slide in there. Now, it's too tight right now to slide it in there, so we're going to have to loosen off these bolts. On the other side of the sprocket here is a couple of bolts. Loosen those off. That should give us enough plate to get that in there. Loosen a little more. Yeah, the other sprockets we were using were a little different than these ones. These ones seem to be able to come loose. So, all right, I think I should give that a little tap with a hammer. That should pop right in there. Now that I've loosened those bolts off. Okay. Now, make sure that this rear sprocket is lining up with the front sprocket on the engine. Okay, because it can slide around on there. And you want it looking from the back, you want to make sure that it's a straight line so it's not binding up. And now we just have to tighten this back up. These are fairly heavy-duty bolts, so you can tighten them pretty good without worrying about snapping them. It's an M10. Okay. All right, and there we go. That's all there was to it. So that was only 4 minutes it took to do that. So that is a job that I expect to be done if a cart needs this. Hopefully we won't have to do that, but if it happens, now you know how.